section here. Obsessions to possessions. The reason why I bring this up is because when we have conversations with a lot of these people on TikTok, dude, like the one thing you'll notice, and it's not just like Muslims, it's not just, it's all of them, right? There becomes like a demonic stupor that just starts to emit, and it's some form of demonic oppression. It has to be, because we're trying to have normal conversations with people, and yet every attempt at having a normal conversation, it just like you tell them something and they just all of a sudden just can't, they don't know what you're talking about. Like remember the guy that came up earlier today, right? The dude that spoke Arabic and pretended like he didn't speak Arabic, and then I asked him, هل صفات الله غير مخلوق ولا ايه يعني ايوه ولا ايه نعم ولا ايه, like yes or what, like are the attributes uncreated or what, bro? And he just pretended like he didn't hear what I was saying. He just kept trying to walk past, and they just start spurging out. Exactly. They just start spurging out, bro. And it's a demonic stupor. It's not just like Muslims. It's not just atheists. It's not just whatever. It's anybody. And unfortunately, I've even seen Christians do this, right? They come on the panel and they say, why are you talking about religion? You shouldn't be talking about religion. I'm like, didn't Jesus say, go into all the world, preach the gospel? How am I preach the gospel if the person I'm preaching the gospel to doesn't believe it? Don't you think, as it says in Isaiah, come, let us reason together, that I need to be able to have an intellectual conversation with a person that disagrees with me? How can I do that? How can I preach the gospel to them without reasoning through it first? And so then the Christians, oh, well, you're just being mean. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just mean. Was Jesus mean when he flipped over those tables and ran people out of the temple with a whip? What about when the prophets of the Old Testament mocked the prophets of Baal and said, "Oh, your God is sleeping because the fire is not coming down"? Is that too mean for you? Right? It's insane. Word. No, I was on TikTok, but now I'm just watching videos. I want to share. I want us to watch this one video because it talks about how Satan uses people. I think this would be really interesting. I think it's this section here. Let's try to check this out, guys.
You had mentioned the woman that you were talking about earlier. She had occult knowledge.
Yeah.
That the way you made it sound, it just appeared in her mind.
Yeah, that's right.
Like a download or something.
Right.
What is occult knowledge?
It's basically demons can feed people two kinds of information. So occult knowledge is of two kinds. The first is they can just put an image in your imagination about what's happening in another location. Or if a demon is putting a thought in someone's head, they can actually put the thought in someone else's head and tell this person, this is what this guy's thinking. So they can, you see that somewhat commonly. So they can give us particular knowledge about things that are actually happening. Then this could be even through a person's history.
Okay, so let's pause right here for a second. Let's think about this for a second, right? You guys have seen Bear do this, right? You guys have seen Avery has done this. Word has done this. Shout out brother Word and I. If you guys haven't already subscribed to his channel, make sure that you guys subscribe to the Word and I. Up and coming apologist, way smarter than me. Just amazing brother. He's out there on the streets actually now, really giving that Christian dawah. Think about this, guys, and this is why I say watch this interview if you get a chance. Because demons are real, exorcisms are real, all of that's like all of it's real. What's funny is when I got baptized, they did an exorcism on me, right? Like everybody being baptized into the Orthodox Church receives an exorcism, right? Like it's part of it. So whether you're Orthodox, whether you're Catholic, whether you're Protestant, we all believe in demons. We all believe in exorcisms. And the Catholic Church, I will give this to them. They have done a great job of documenting all of these things over the years that have happened where demons are concerned. They literally like write it down. Like they have a history of it. Like they write this stuff down, and they the Orthodox Church, we do exorcisms. We do believe in casting out demons and things like that. We just handle it a little bit differently. But the Catholic Church, I think they're a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like they have like a greater repository of knowledge that's documented, right? Like within the Orthodox Church, this information is kind of just passed down from priest to priest and things like that. So, but notice like when we talk about these things and when we talk to people on the app, right? And, you know, Bear has asked this a lot, Word, me, Avery, you know, whoever you want to, you know, think about. We asked a simple question. Okay, the message that Muhammad received in the cage, the message that Joseph Smith received in the woods, the message that Charles Taze Russell received, the message that Brahman gave, all of these things, how do you know that it's from God? How do you know? What is your epistemic grounding for this, right? And they say, well, I just believe it, right? You know, how do you know? It's just me asking. How do you know that it wasn't a demon that said this? And then you see they just spin the wheels, right? Just spin, 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 spin. And we never get like a solid answer. And they say, well, I just believe because I believe it. This is what he's talking about here. Let's continue.
It can, you know, you walk in and all of a sudden, if the person is possessed, they can start, the demons will just, if they're manifested, they'll start telling you about things that have happened in your history and you've never even met this person. So it deals with particular knowledge. The other kind is,
Could that be the other side as well?
in what sense?
Could the good side, could God send somebody to read your mind?
Yes, they can. It's called divine revelation. That can happen, but it's extraordinarily rare. And just as the demons can put stuff in our minds, our guardian angels and angels can put stuff in our minds as well for the good, to kind of clue us in and things of that sort.
So just real quick, a lot of people don't know this. And by the way, if you guys are here on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. We got about 90 people in here. So let's hit that like button so we can get this shared out to other people. I'm probably going to split this up into 2 different lives. A lot of people would be like, oh, you know, that's not true. We don't have guardian angels. I'm going to show you a verse. And when I was Protestant, I was blown away when I saw this. So obviously, guys, I'm Orthodox. So but this is just something I want you guys to notice for those of my Protestant friends who are here who may not be aware of this. Let me show this verse. This is Matthew 18. This is going to be really interesting. Sorry, guys. Let me put this on the screen. Matthew 18:10. Oops. Let me put this back over here. Matthew 18, verse 10. Matthew 18:10. I was blown away when I saw this, man. Because I never grew up understanding this or knowing this. This is what Jesus says. See that you do not despise one of these little ones, for I tell you that in heaven, their angels always see the face of my Father who is in heaven. So God gives us guardian angels. I'll read it one more time. See that you do not despise one of these little ones. For I tell you that in heaven, their angels, that's possessive, their angels always see the face of my Father who is in heaven. So what do the angels do? Like what is it that the angels do? You know, we're given guardian angels, but what do they do? Well, in Matthew chapter, is this Matthew 4? Yeah. Let me see. Oops. Yeah. After Jesus is tempted by Satan and he tells Satan, I'm God, be gone, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God and him alone. Or he says here, Satan is trying to tempt him, right? And Jesus says, again, it's written, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test. Well, who was Satan tempting there in Matthew 4? Interesting, right? He was tempting Jesus, and Jesus says, don't tempt God. So, but notice what it says here. After the devil left him, it said, behold, angels came and were ministering to him. So the angels, they come, they bring messages, they minister unto you because, and then it even says here in Hebrews, a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people don't know this. And there's various different ways in which angels can minister. It's not just sending, like bringing messages from God and things like that. Hebrews 1. Okay. And which of the angels has he ever said, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet? Are they not all ministering spirits sent out to serve for the sake of those who are to inherit salvation? So salvation has been made available to all men, teaching us to deny ungodliness, as Titus chapter 2 says. Is it Titus 2? Yeah. Titus 2, for the grace of God has appeared, bringing salvation for all people, training us to renounce ungodliness and worldly passions and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives in this present age. So the vehicles in which some of that grace is made available to us and known to us is through the ministering spirits, the angels, right? Obviously, the main mechanism is through God, right? But the angels that were given to us at our birth, that minister unto us, that bring us things, that minister salvation unto us, that's where it comes from. You can reject it, however. The Bible teaches that you can reject salvation. The Bible teaches you can forfeit salvation. I don't like to use the word lose salvation just because of all of like the 21st century baggage that's been attached to it. I like to use the word you can forfeit your salvation, because I asked you a simple question. Adam and Eve, when they were in the garden, did they have eternal life with God? They did. But then something happened and they forfeited that salvation based on what they knew. So it wasn't like they just made a mistake. Oh, I just slipped into some sin. No. They knew what they were doing and they purposely went against what God said, knowing what would happen. And they forfeited their salvation, right? They forfeited eternal life. So forfeiting salvation is not about you just committing one sin, two sin, three sins. Forfeiting salvation is a cognizant, knowing attitude, reprobate attitude against God, rejecting this grace that has been made available to you. And part of the way it's been made available to you is through the ministering spirits. So, which are the angels? So what Father Chad Rittberger is saying here is absolutely correct. I know I went on a tangent. Let's continue watching.
The other form is kind of a generalized knowledge of just like a science. So demons can actually teach people things about how like physical things work. I'm personally convinced that even though I'm kind of a fan of a lot of his work, is Tesla. You know, when Tesla was coming up with all these ideas, I'm like, how did this guy come up? And he actually describes how his inventions would come into his mind all completely, the design all complete at once, instantaneously. It wasn't that he thought, okay, if I do this and I put this together and put this, it wasn't that. It was just the whole thing comes together in his mind. That's
real quick here. I know I jump in a lot, but this is really interesting. Demons are fallen angels. And if you read like the East and the West, because St. John of Damascus talks about angels and demons and things like that too. But I think the person that has like a really large corpus of work on demons during that time, like the medieval time, I guess, would probably be like Aquinas. And then later on, you can probably read King James. He also wrote a book called Demonology. I've actually read it. So people who, King James wrote demonology, he worshiped demons. No, if you read the book, he's telling you to watch out for what demons do. But there's a lot of information out there on demons. And what's interesting is the way that Christianity has explained it over centuries is that they have like a infused sense of knowledge and they know almost everything, basically. Like they can just look at something and instantly know it, right? They've been around much longer than we've been around. So when they come to people, like maybe like indigenous peoples, they would teach them, like, because you see this in the Old Testament, they would teach them like these sorceries and these witchcrafts and these spells, because they have knowledge of how the world around us works. And they just teach that to people. And then, you get Wicca and you get alchemy, and you get herbology, and all of these different things which stray people away from God, because now you're putting the power into your hands. The demons can teach that, right? Because they would have already known about it. They've been here for forever. It's pretty interesting. Oops.
That's how demons actually communicate the knowledge to them. So, and there is some report. I'm still trying to track down the veracity of it, but there's a report that he was actually involved in spiritualism. So, which is a form of the occult. So, but anyway, so they can give us those kinds of knowledge. I've had, and you see this like in cases in session, people who have not had any serious theological training.
Listen
when
to
the
this,
demons are
guys.
talking, they're making theological distinctions that, you know, someone who has my level of study knows, but the person who's possessed has no clue what it means. In fact, sometimes they'll come out of the session and like, what does that mean? They don't even know what it means, but it's actually very, you know, it's at a level that you just, and it's very clear and it's very precise, and their distinctions, their wording is done in such a way that you realize, okay, this is somebody who knows something occultly. This is not a human being.
Obsession.
So obsession is when they attack our interior faculties, specifically the imagination and emotions again. But unlike ordinary temptation, this is extraordinary, where it's very powerful and very strong. And the pattern that you'll tend to see with that is the person it'll just switch on and it just switches off. If it's a psychological condition, it will tend to be it'll switch on because something external happens and the person just reacts to it, or it'll be because psychological illnesses involved intellectual and other kinds of habits. It's consistent and it tends to act that way, so the person's always thinking about this. Whereas when it's diabolic obsession, all of a sudden, boom, they're thinking about something, they can't get their mind off of it, and then, you know, they might pray or they might do something else, and then boom, it shuts off. And so that's
real quick. I wanted to bring this up really quick because this is important too when it comes to these things. Like Father Rittberger, I don't know if he's going to bring this up later on, because he does talk about, I just don't know if it's this section here. And then I think his sister in the chat earlier told me what timestamp it was supposed to be that I was looking for. But he brings up this idea of like it's called like here in America we call them earworms. Like when you get a jingle stuck in your ear and you can't get it out, like you're stuck in your head, you know. And he says that the particular people that are involved in particular industries allegedly, I can't say that they do, so because I don't want to get sued. Allegedly, they cast spells on particular songs to get it stuck in your head. And that would be a form of demonic obsession, where you can't get something out of your mind. It's stuck in your head. No matter what you do, it's there. You can't stop thinking about it. That's demonic obsession. And obviously we know the reason that it gets stuck in your is because they want you to, you know, continue buying the records and things like that. I mean, it could be just a good song, right? But I don't believe I'm listening to freaking Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin, and we could take a look at that next, you know, if we have a little bit of time after this. But if you guys ever listen to Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin, because I grew up playing rock, I'm obviously, you know, you guys see my aunt back here. I love metal. I'm heavy into metal, no pun intended. I grew up in my city playing in a lot of famous venues, playing in a lot of metal bands. If you play some of these songs backwards, dude, yeah, exactly. Kefa got it. Yep. Have you ever heard Stairway to Heaven? Yeah, that's when you listen to it backwards, you will be shocked. We can do that next. Like I'll show the video where you guys and we'll kind of like decipher it a little bit if I have time, so you guys don't think I'm making this up. But if you just type in Sad Satan on YouTube, you'll see Stairway to Heaven being played backwards. And it's a whole freaking message, dude. Now, I mean, like, I love were you the guitarist for Living Color? No. I love you know, like the Eagles, Metallica. I never was really big into like Led Zeppelin, you know, they were kind of, you know, AC/DC is pretty cool. I like Thunderstruck by AC/DC, but I was really more so into like Under Oath, Bless the Fall, August Burns Red, you know, Avenged Sevenfold. That's the era I grew up in. And even in a lot of that stuff, it gets, you know, it's just, man, McCain said, "Don't do this to me. I'm a huge Zeppelin fan." I'm sorry, Habibi. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, dude. I'm a huge Eagles fan. And I think they did the same thing with Hotel California, right? But let's get back to this.
Kind of the pattern that you tend to see. It'll switch on, it switches off. But it's the demon sees the person's imagination and they can't think outside the box. It's like they get tunnel vision and everything they see is seen in that light. Then they can also move people's emotions independently of what's in our imagination, because the way we're designed psychologically is our emotions are moved by the perspective of the image that we have in our imagination. So, for example, in a guy's first marriage, his perspective on his wife is she's lovable, she's nice, she's kind to me. It's a good perspective, right? She's just, look, she brought my beer. She's such a great wife, etc. 10 years later, after they've had a lot of knockdown, drag out fights, the perspective, she hasn't changed, but the perspective has changed. And so he has a different emotional reaction when she walks into the room. So and that's how we can actually change our emotional states just by what the perspective we take on it. Well, the demons can put that perspective on it, but what they can, and they can do that in diabolic obsession, which they often do. And we call it running commentary, where it doesn't matter what the person tries to reason in relationship to how this person's not like that way. Yeah, but then there's the demon just keeps dragging it back to that perspective. But the other thing is they can move the emotions without anything in the imagination. So a person just all of a sudden, boom, they're just angry. And you're like, why are you angry? I don't know. I don't know why I'm mad, right? And then it shuts off just as quickly. So sometimes like you pray over people who are diabolically obsessed. When you pray over them, all of a sudden they feel this lifting of that perspective and that emotional state.
So guys, notice what he's saying here, and this is absolutely true. And this is why that's the section I was looking for. Sorry it took us so long to get there, but have you guys ever noticed, and most of you guys watch this, right? Like you watch us as we debate the Muslims or we debate the atheists or whoever. And if you notice, no matter how many times we explain something to them, they keep going back to the same thing. One God, one God, one God, one God, one God. We can explain it over and over and over that we worship one God. Or we could try to explain or reason with them about whatever, and they just keep doing the same. They go back to the same thing. We would say, according to the church, that that's demonic obsession of some sort. And then if you notice what he said, right? He said, well, you know, whenever you start speaking or you pray over the person, sometimes they just they get angry. They don't even know how many times. I mean, you guys saw the stream I did. Was it yesterday? If you watch the very last stream before this one, if you watch the very beginning of the stream, the first guest that comes up, he immediately starts cursing me, calling me the N-word, saying F your mother and all this stuff. All I did was say, how are you doing? Like, it's insane, bro. Like, and to be honest with you, like, obviously the answer is we ought to pray for these individuals. We ought to, you know, make sure that, you know, that we teach them the gospel if it's possible. But Jesus said to be wise as a serpent, but to be gentle as a dove. So we need to be wise in how we deal with individuals that we know are not here to learn, that we know are not here to, you know, really seek meaningful conversation. And obviously, like always, you know, in the spirit, like we need to, you know, because in Ephesians talks about put on the armor of God and, you know, put on the shield of righteousness and all these things. And your sword is the word. And like, obviously, like, you know, we believe in all of that, you know, even as Orthodox, but we need to be in prayer much more on a consistent every single day basis. If you guys are Orthodox or Catholic or even Protestants, you guys can do this too. Get a prayer book. Get it, pray, like, and just say those prayers, set a timer for 10 minutes and just pray.